Okay, so today we're looking at the origin of money, and your learning target is that you should be able to explain the role of money. So you have five focus questions you're going to be looking at here. You've got what is a barter economy? 2, how did money emerge out of a barter economy? 3, what is money? 4, what gives money its value? And then 5, what are the functions of money? And you have some key terms here. You've got barter economy, transaction costs, money, medium of exchange, units of account, store of value, and the fractional reserve banking. So the first kind of a money system we're going to look at is what's called a barter economy. And what's unique about a barter economy is that it doesn't actually use money. Instead, the only way that you can get what you want in a barter economy is that you trade something that you have for something that you want. And so there's like a classic example of this, which is you have 2 orchard farmers. One grows apples, the other grows oranges. The 2 farmers, they come together and they agree upon an exchange of apples and oranges that both farmers feel is fair. Okay, you can look at the different cartoons here. Now, in a barter economy, it'd be difficult to live today, anyways. And the reason why is because there's this thing called transactional costs, and that would make exchanges are really high in a barter economy. And so the way to think of a transaction cost is it's the time and the effort that you would have to spend before you can make an exchange. So if you go back real quick and you think about the apples and oranges, right? Well, what if the guy has really big navel oranges and the other person has, like, I don't know, some sort of small apples? So is it like 2 apples to 1 orange? Is it going to be based on weight? Is it based on the quality of the product? Like, that's the thing is you have to spend time coming up with the transaction cost, which is the time and the effort that's involved. Okay, so if the transaction costs could somehow be lowered, then like trading between the 2 people would be easier. Okay, and if things are easier, then more of it happens. If more of it happens, you guys know what happens, then more profit is made. So how and why did money come into existence? Well, money is a good that most people will accept in exchange for goods and services, and in the repayment of debt. So historically, money has included all kinds of things like gold, silver, copper, rocks, cattle, shells, and all kinds of different things. Now, cash and any other good that's considered money, it has value because it's generally accepted. Okay, so if you think about that for a second, the money that you have in your bank account it has value because other people are willing to accept it. If people aren't willing to accept it, then it has no value. Okay, some different forms of money. So, and you need to know these for the test, but there's commodity, which we're going to talk about. There's metallic, which is what we're currently using. Then paper, which again we're also using. And then there's just banks, and then plastic. And what I mean by plastic is like your ATM or debit card. So commodity money was used in ancient times, and this is a form of different goods that are commonly used by people in everyday life. And then the issue, though, is that in order to trade between one society and another, there has to be a common medium of exchange. Well, what do I mean by this? Well, let's say that I am a seafaring society, and we do things like catch fish and hunt whales, stuff like that. Okay, so we have like whale teeth and things like this. Now we want to trade with someone who is an iron-producing society. What's the exchange rate? Well, like, what are we exchanging here? Are they going to exchange the iron for whale teeth, or like how many whale teeth? Like, what happens when they no longer need whale teeth? So this is the problem. Okay, so this commodity lack the ability to increase trade, and you want to increase trade, okay, for all kinds of reasons, because remember, specialization, the thing that you're good at, and then the thing that the other person is good at is going to bolster everyone. The way to think about trade is it's like the tide. As the tide rises, all boats will rise with it. Okay? So in this case, the boats are the societies. We also have metallic money. So this is a type of money that consists of coins made out of gold, silver, copper, nickel, and it varies by weight, its fineness, and its value. The key to this type of money, though, metallic money, is the scarceness of the material. So like copper is fairly common compared to like gold or silver. So it can also be created in small denominations like pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters. The advantage of this is that it's easily kept. Like you can put it in a bag or in a purse. You can convert it into other types of currency. So like you can have like one gold coin is worth 50 silver coins and vice versa. And then there's no chance of this particular product melting. What I mean by that is yes, you can melt it if you apply heat to it, but like just sitting in the bag, it's not going to melt, right? So it's going to keep its value and its shape and all the other stuff. The disadvantages, though, are this is limited legal tender, and what that means is legal tender is what you can use to pay off your debts. So there's two types of metallic money. We have full-bodied, which means that the value that's written on it is what it's worth. And then we have what's called token. This is where the face or the printed value is higher than the value of the metal itself. And so here in the United States, we use what's called token, because if you look at like a penny, nickel, dimes, quarters, 50-cent pieces, and dollars, the value of the coin is less than or can be more, especially in the case of the penny, than the metal itself. Like a penny actually costs more money to create than its actual value. That's why there's been serious consideration given in the past to like getting rid of it. I've been to countries like Australia that don't have the penny. Like everything is rounded to 5 cents. So, and it works. Next is what gives money its value. So money has value because you know that you can use it to get what you want. So if you want to go get a haircut and you take, it's cost $12 and you take a $20 bill, you know you can get a haircut. If you go to get the same haircut and you have a $10 bill, you know you can't get the haircut, okay? Because the value of the money doesn't match the price of the service. So that's it. So another way to think about this is like you could find like Confederate money from 1860 to 1865, right? Because it exists, it's out there. But who would use that? Like, what could you purchase with that? It's the same thing. If you think about, if you know your history and you know, like between World War I and World War II, Germany went through this state of hyperinflation. Those Deutschmarks are worthless. They were worthless back then, and they're worthless today. Okay, and the reason why is it's not accepted. Okay, you can't use it to satisfy debt or the value of the product, because that particular, like in this case, Confederate money, it has no value. Maybe historical value, but no monetary value. Are you better off living in a money economy? So the transaction costs are a lot lower in our economy, because you can just look at what's the value of my money, and then what's the price of the good, and there's no need to barter. So what this does is it frees up more time for things like leisure, but also more time to do things like just work and improve yourself too. So if you are a resident of a money economy, which you are, this means that you have richer goods, services, and leisure, all of which are true. Okay? So residents of money economies are also more specialized. So they don't need to conduct like multiple transactions to obtain a good. Can you imagine if you, let's say it's like 150 years ago, and we have a horse, and we want to put shoes on the horse, and so we had to go and barter with miners for the iron. Then we had to go and barter with a blacksmith to forge that into a horseshoe, and then we had to go to a stable and then barter with the stable master to like have the shoes placed on my horse. Like that would take you so much time, right? So you don't have to do any of those things, because if you own a horse today, you can buy ready-made shoes, and you can hire or do it yourself, but like you can hire someone to do these things, and you pay them a predetermined amount of money. So it's the way that we do things today. It's simpler, but the biggest benefit of it is the fact that it's so much less time consuming. Okay, we use that time for other things, specialization, production, but leisure as well. So these are the three functions of money. Medium of exchange, it's anything that is generally accepted in exchange for goods and services. Okay. A unit of account, it's a common measurement in which values are expressed. So like in the United States, we have pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, 50-cent pieces, and then we have dollars. There's a $2 bill, there's a $5, a $10, a $20, $50, and $100. Okay. And then we have the store of value, an item that maintains value over time. So like if you were a child and your grandparents gave you, say, $5 for your birthday, and you were 5 years old, well, you guys are, 14, 15, and then beyond that, that $5 still is worth $5. Okay, it's whatever the face value is its store value too. Okay. And then who were the early bankers? So we're going to look at banking first. So gold was a common form of money in olden times because gold is rare, and the weight of gold makes it kind of difficult to move from place to place. It's dense. It's unsafe because if you are known to be carrying a large amount of gold, you're going to become a target for thieves. And then it's kind of difficult to transport. Like if you need a lot of gold, what are you going to do? Saddle it up on your donkeys because it's heavy. I mean, it's very, very heavy, and you can't really carry it, so it's not easily transportable. So for this reason, goldsmiths became the first bankers, and they took in people's gold and they would store it. And this is where the whole idea of vaults come from, and you would have people that would protect the vaults. So when you would take your money to a goldsmith, they would give you a paper receipt. It's called a warehouse receipt. And that receipt stated the amount of gold that was deposited. And this was based on measurement. Okay, they would weigh it. So what people began to do is, rather than going back to the goldsmith and then getting out the amount of gold that they needed, they began to exchange the paper receipts as a form of money in place of the gold. And so remember, carrying physical gold is inconvenient for customers because, again, it makes you susceptible to theft. But it's also inconvenient for merchants too, because it makes them susceptible for theft. Because by the end of the day, they could have quite an amount of gold, which would make them a pretty lucrative target for thieves. And so this exchange of of the warehouse receipts is seen as a superior method of exchange, and it's going to be adopted all over the place. So what ends up happening is we have this development from warehousing to what's called fractional banking. Okay, it seems complex, but it's not. So what goldsmiths notice is that people are depositing all this gold, but they're not really coming to withdraw that gold, and so this means they have more and more gold in their vaults. Okay, and so people, instead of exchanging gold, are exchanging these paper receipts, and people feel comfortable with this because those receipts are the store of value. Meaning, if this receipt says it's worth a pound of gold, then it's worth a pound of gold. I take that receipt in and to the warehouse, and I would get my pound of gold. So what goldsmiths began to do is they figured if people are going to keep their money and be exchanging these paper receipts in lieu of the gold, that they would take some of that gold that remained in their vaults and they would make loans with it, and that they would charge interest to make these loans, and therefore by using other people's money, in this case gold, they could make money for themselves. Okay, so what lending money was doing was creating an increase in the money supply. Okay, and this is actually in two ways: availability of gold, and then also warehouse receipts as well. So it's a twofold approach. And increasing the money supply is important because this allows people to purchase things. And if people are purchasing things, then people are producing things. And if people are producing things, that means they're hiring people. Okay, so it's a virtuous cycle. Now the concept that's described here is what we know of as the fractional banking system. Some people don't understand this. Like, they think that the way that banks work is they keep 100% of your money. That's not true at all. They keep a fraction of it. In the United States, it's about 10%. It depends on the country. Now this system definitely works, and it has worked for centuries. However, there are some problems with it. First off is if loans are made and defaulted on, this can create a problem because the initial gold that was lent out is now gone. Now, as long as enough people are not defaulting on their loans, this doesn't represent a problem. This is why you have to qualify for loans too. The other big problem is when you have what are called bank runs. This is like some sort of economic crisis in which people in mass go to the banks and withdraw their funds from the bank vault. And since there's only 10% of the money that's actually stored in the vaults, this means 90% of people don't receive their money, which is a problem. So the way that this works is you take a person right here, right? They come into the bank and they deposit $1,000. Now, if the bank is required to keep 10%, That means in their vault, they will keep $100 of this person's money in deposit, which means that they can take $900 and loan that out to people. So let's say a person comes in and they borrow $900, okay? What happens is, in the system, we have $1,900. In the bank, we have $100. So this is the amount of money that's out in circulation, potentially anyways, $1,900. However, in the bank, there's only $100. So this person that's got the $900, they're going to put that money in the bank, okay? $90, because remember that's 10% of it, has to be kept in the bank, but now they can lend out $810 of that. So that's 810 new dollars out in the system. So what this means is, when you look at how much money is there in the money supply, it's $2,710. The bank has $190 in it, meaning Bank A and Bank B. Remember, 10%, 10%, $100, 90. That person that took the $810 loan out, they go to another bank. Again, they have to keep $81. They can loan out $729. And this is just how the system works. So what you do when you're looking at how much money is in circulation is you count the amount of money that's actually out there, not the amount of money that's being kept in place. And so you could take a $1,000 deposit, and from that $1,000 deposit, you could create $2,439 additional dollars, because you have to subtract the original $1,000. Okay? So there you go. That's how you do it. Now, if I ask you how much money total was there, you would include that $1,000. So that would be $3,439. Then if I asked you how much money was kept in deposit, remember it's 10%. So it's 190, 81. So it's $271. All right, that's it. Thanks a lot.